Hello, everyone. Today we are with the business growth strategist, a mentor, and a successful coach, a person who coaches the coach. We are here with Josefine Wanner. Hello and welcome, Josefine. How are you doing?
Hi, Sudarsh. I'm very good. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
So, take us through your story. How did you land into a coaching business from your corporate job?
So I finished college, and then I started studying, did a master's degree in business administration, and starting to climb the corporate ladder. I've worked for a couple of the big four companies. I worked for one of Switzerland's largest banks, and you kind of like you get into this kind of like corporate ladder thing, and you feel flattered because I got more and more responsibility. I managed teams, etc. But I like had this voice on my shoulder who kind of like whispering, Josephine, this is not really what you want to do. This is not really what you want to do. But I didn't listen to that voice. I had all of these kind of like to-dos, things I thought I would have to do. I would have to stay within corporate, because you have your bills and your mortgage and whatever it might be. And also this little bit the social responsibility, what I thought my parents wanted and what I thought my husband wanted and my kids wanted. Until one day in August 2019, and I had been thinking about doing something on my own. I had even done, the SWOT analysis. I was stuck a little bit in analysis paralysis and didn't really dare to even test the ideas. And this day in August 2019, we learned that my father had incurable cancer. And my Google research said that he would have 3 more months to live. 3 more months. And that was my very real and very clear wake-up call. And I realized then that it could have been any one of us. And that is what made me realize that I have to do something else. I have to pursue my dreams. So I handed in my resignations. 4 weeks later, I handed in my resignation. And my father didn't get those 3 months. All he got was 6 weeks. And I never told him that I had actually resigned, but I think if he would see me now, that he would still be very, very proud of me.
I'm very sure he's very proud of you. And you are doing an incredible job. So I went through your LinkedIn profile, also through your website, and the amount of traction that you have gained, and also the way you have served your coaching clients is just, I would say, beautiful and amazing. So I'm very sure he is proud of you wherever he is. So let's dive a bit deeper into it. And you said that you did a SWOT analysis and you had an analysis paralysis. So talk us through that. How did you come out of that? Because I believe that youngsters like us should like do a SWOT analysis. But I read somewhere on one of your blogs that you mentioned that SWOT is the worst thing to do. And yeah, please elaborate on that.
Yeah, and probably everyone teaching this in the university will probably want to kind of strangle me to say no. And I say don't. I mean, the SWOT analysis is like the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And yes, it is okay and good to really have that information. But what is even more essential is that you actually talk to people before you start doing your SWOT analysis. Talk to them, listen to them. What is it that they say that they really truly want? And that is, I built my own coaching business on the mistakes that I have done. I started to create an online course. I bought the online course on how to make online courses, and I started to create my own online course. And I sat there I wouldn't say in my chamber, but I sat there. I spoke to one person that was very close to me, and I said, do you think people would really want this and need this? And she was like, yeah, they definitely need it. And I started to create this online course, but I didn't speak to one single person. And I got a little bit stuck in this whole kind of like the fancy applications that you could use to create your online course. And I did this for 10 months, and that course was never even released. It was never even put out there. And then I signed up to a different program where I had the accountability. And that was when I had, within 5 weeks, I had done proper market research. I had put down my course out there. I had even gotten 60 applications for that very first course.
Wow.
And I hadn't even started yet, I haven't even started creating it yet. To see that you actually get some traction on what it is that you do and what it is that you want to do before you do anything else. And then you can start kind of thinking about, okay, so how do I need to do this? How do I need to set this up? Because there are different ways that you can set it up and different ways that you can serve it. And also when you said that I coach other coaches, yes, I definitely do that. But that wasn't where I started. I started where I thought that, when I quit my job, I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to feel the same way I feel now. I want to help others so that, they find much sooner than I did that they can actually pursue their dreams. So that is what I started doing. I started to coach mainly women in corporate who were lost, until I realized that these are not the people that I want to work with, because I want to work with action takers, and they were not yet there. They needed someone with way more patience than I have to take them through that whole process that you need to go through. I work with people who have already taken the decision. Many of them have already set up their coaching business or are in the process of setting up their coaching business. They have already taken the decision to leave. I have fantastic friends and colleagues and peers who are the right coaches for the people who are not yet there. So that is kind of to know, first of all, what is it that you want to do, and then merge that with who do you really want to work with. That is your ideal client.
Awesome. Like, really interesting story, and the way you put it, really great. So yeah, finding the ideal client persona is, I think, the first thing to do before you do all kinds of matrices and SWOT analysis and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So tell us about your best-selling course or the best-selling workshop. What is the most successful thing that you have done so far?
I think it's not only my success that counts, but also the success of my clients. And I work in different ways with my clients. I have one-to-one coaching where I help them to move in whatever direction they want to move. And I also have my group coaching program where I help them to do proper market research, to kind of do to set up their own offer, create their own offer, and then to go out and promote it and sell it. And I think that is the success, that is the whole snowball effect, that when I help someone else and they get to help people in their turn, then me helping one person who helps then maybe 1 or 10 or 100 other people, that is the true success of my work. And it actually took a little bit of a while before I really realized that it's not just me helping one person, it's actually me helping one, helping many. So that is the true success of my program and what I do.
Did you ever feel that, hey, I don't know about this industry, how can I help this client? Or maybe something sort of an imposter syndrome? And how did you deal with that then, if so?
The imposter syndrome is very real, and it's very real for everyone. Those who say they haven't, I read somewhere market research, which was a very old market research. I think if they would do it again today, it would have different results. But at the time, it had like 70% of everyone has experienced imposter syndrome once, or at least once in their life. So that is a very real. I also think that imposter syndrome is more real when you're doing something that you're not that passionate about, that you're not really kind of sure about. When I was in banking, I just waited for the moment when someone would come, and point at me and say, "Hey, Josefine, what are you doing here?" And now that I'm pursuing something or doing something that I really love doing, it's actually less there. But yes, of course, I've felt it too. But what I do then is I educate myself, I invest in myself, both time and money, and that helps me to get out of imposter syndrome. Oh, one great thing that actually what happened was I was invited to be a public speaker in in Paris and in Rome. And I said, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about how to become confident, bold, and successful. That was the title of my speech. And then just a couple of weeks before my first speech, I spoke first in Paris, and then I had the same speech in Rome. And the first 2 weeks before that, I was like, who am I to talk about how to become confident, bold, and successful? You know, I had that kind of like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm going to stand in front of 70 other entrepreneurs and tell them how to become confident, bold, and successful. What I did then was I actually included that whole kind of like imposter syndrome and how that felt and how I dealt with that into my speech, because each and every one who sat there, all of the 70 plus 70 afterwards in Rome, have felt that exact same feeling. So don't be afraid of kind of like sharing or being vulnerable about what your struggles are or what it is that you're dealing with, because that actually even shows more the authentic you and who you really are.
Wow, wonderful. So in addition to this, a follow-up question is like, did you ever have fear of failure and or either of your clients? And then what is your advice as to how to deal with the fear of failure?
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that I have fear of failure. I think I had that before I took the leap. But you know, before when I actually have said, I usually say I have actually failed in starting 2.5 businesses. And the first business was an interior design business, and I discussed with 2 different friends, but we were stuck in the whole SWOT analysis. The second business was a consulting business within the financial services, 2 other friends there too. Again, we didn't even dare to test. We didn't even dare to ask people. And then the half of the business was we couldn't even agree on a business idea. We just knew we wanted to do something. So those are the times that I have actually failed. And the reason why I failed was I didn't have the guts to even test the ideas, and I didn't have the passion for those ideas. So you have to have both. You have to have guts and you have to have passion. And when you have that, I don't think you can fail, because what happens is everything will be a pilot. So you will test. And I think that when you are confident in what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're offering, you show up completely differently. And that confidence shows too. And one of the reasons why I actually dared to quit my job was I was thinking, okay, so I've been successful because I was an executive director at one of Switzerland's largest banks. I've been successful in something that I didn't really want to do in the first place. Imagine how successful I can become when I'm doing something that I really love. And I think that is when you have that as a core, then you will not fail.
Interesting perspective. I think one habit that I have inculcated and also I advise all my friends is to journal down your achievements every single day, like however small that is. And then whenever you have these doubts in your mind, you can refer to them. And yeah, that's how you can gain a lot of self-belief and subsequently confidence.
You know, everyone had posted on LinkedIn about all their achievements and everything they had, you know, experienced and learned in 2022. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like such a, you know, a loser. It feels as if I haven't achieved anything. So I started I took 30 minutes, 45 minutes, one day in January, and I started just looking through, you know, week by week by week by week. And I had a very serious surgery in January 2022. And I actually started working with my clients end of January 2022. And then I went through that like week by week, month by month, and I noted down 3 to 5 experiences and achievements that I had done throughout 2022. Because to me, it's not so much the dollars or achievements that count. It's actually the experiences that count. And I saw that, you know, I had 24, 25 clients in 2022. I had been to different countries in 9 out of the 12 months. Things like that kind of really count what it is that you're doing and what it is that you want to do. To not so much focus on kind of like, I don't know, sales or whatever it might be, but really focus on the experiences as such. And that was a huge win. And as you say, do this daily, and you don't even need to do it on a weekly basis or monthly basis. And it's so powerful.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I would like to know about how your team is structured. Like, do you work individually or do you have a set of people? And if so, what are their roles in your team?
Mm-hmm. So I have a very, very small team. It's me and my business manager. I call her my strategic manager. We started working together as a VA. She's now been with me for 2 years. So we've been working together for 2 years. I also work with contractors in different capacity. It might be someone doing my homepage, someone doing my Facebook ads. What else? Someone doing social media, planning, etc., etc. There, I would also say anyone and everyone who thinks about kind of hiring a contractor, I say listen to your gut. Your gut tells you much, much more than you actually think that it does. Even when you outsource something, trust your gut feeling and don't let go of the control. And I'm not saying that you need to micromanage, because definitely not. You're hiring these people for a reason, right? Otherwise, you could do it them yourself. But you really kind of still be in close contact, control, and trust your gut.
Got it. So I read a lot on your website and also on your LinkedIn page that you help clients, let's say, get the leads and then subsequently get the clients. I am going to ask you, how do you generate leads and get the clients?
So I don't believe in these like 7-minute, or, I guess you get those DMs too where people say, just give me 7 minutes of your time and I will generate 1,000 leads to yourself. I don't believe in that. I believe in relationships, in building relationships, in connecting with people, talking to people. And there's nothing worse than people trying to pitch to you within the first DM or within the first, I don't know, whatever it might be. Because that is also how you build a relationship, depending on what it is that you do, obviously. But I work long-term with my clients. It's at least 6 months that we work together. Some of my clients have been working with them for over a year. And that is kind of so important that you then set up a relationship that works long-term, that they really trust that you are the right person for them. But that again depends on what your offer is. I generate leads through, I have a free Facebook group where people can join, where I give free resources. I go live on LinkedIn. I have a weekly live show, like you have your podcast, for example, that kind of builds the credibility. I post regularly on social media. That way you kind of, I build my audience, I show who I am. People get to build trust and you create this whole know, like, and trust, right? I've had people who reached out to me in DMs because they saw me commenting on someone else's post. I have people who reached out to me in DMs because they have been following me for a year. Now they are ready to take the step. So you have to, when you have your sales process, you have to have a lot of kind of patience built in there too, and don't expect kind of like leads to close, within the minute or within the second. You have to build that. I have also run several launches where you invite people to a workshop. Usually I call them a workshop, but it can also be a live webinar. Again, it depends on what it is that you're selling afterwards, where you invite people to a workshop, where you have more people joining that workshop, and then you kind of guide them through, you help them solve a problem, you guide them through, and you show them, again, building this whole know, like, and trust. And at the end, you make them an offer and say, if you want to work more with me or closer with me, then this is how you can do it. But you will never force anyone, because that won't work out, right? It's like, so when the first time I did my kind of proper launch and my proper had to do my sales pitch, I was so nervous, I almost wanted to throw up. And the coach I had then at the time, she was fantastic, and she was like, but Josephine, do you force them to buy your offer? No, I don't. Well, do you force them to continue working with you? No, I don't. So it's their free choice. Yeah, it is. So that is so important to have that at the back of your head when you do your sales pitch or whatever it may be.
Very insightful. Like, again, thanks for sharing that. And one thing that I want to know from you is that, like, let's say there are many people who start out coaching business and they also coach the coaches and stuff. But the main issue I feel is about scaling. So it's not about starting I think the entry barrier is low, but how to take it from, let's say, 0 to 10, 10 to 1,000, and subsequently to a multi-million dollar business. So how were you able to do it successfully? And what is your advice for the new people who are starting right now?
The most really important part, and I actually did some market research just the first or second week of January, is to really go back and understand what is it that people say, how do they say it, and what is it that they want and need, and to go back and really do kind of proper market research and take the time to listen to people, and then you create an offer, but you don't just create it like I did with my very first offer, like spending 10 months trying to create something solo. You create it together, you co-create it together with your prospects or your ideal clients. And there are two different ways that you can do this. You can either create it for free, so that in exchange for your free offer, like your scalable offer, it has to be like a pre-recorded videos, or you can do live sessions. You get feedback and testimonials. Or you can do it like a founder's price, same process, but you do it to a founder's price. Again, feedback and testimonials. Free is, however, unfortunately not really appreciated. So, and you want to have real engaged people who really take, they take the time, they do the exercise, they do the work, because we all know that we can be the best coaches and the best strategists, but if they don't do the work, nothing will change and nothing will happen. So really test it out. And what you do then, you rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I've had my Empower program for a little bit over a year now. And now what we are doing now, Paris and I, who's my business manager, we're taking a step back, looking at the portal, and now we're kind of like, okay, so we need to strip our program. It has kind of grown too much. We need to go back a little bit to the basics, to never kind of feel that, I'm safe, this is everything, but to really talk to the people. And I still do that when I do my teachings inside my program. I say, okay, so what is it that you need today? I have sessions planned, but I'm talking to them. I need to understand, where are you now? What do you need now? Because if I would talk about, I don't know, a new social media strategy that they need to implement, but they are like still here talking about, I don't know how to do my market research, I would just, add on top of their overwhelm. So you need to talk to your clients, even if you have a group or a bigger group of people.
Got it. So you used one very interesting word, and I think that's what most of the, let's say, youngsters are facing right now. It's the overwhelm. So how do youngsters, or let's say small businesses in general, deal with this overwhelm? How do they sort the mess out and like really take a move forward?
Yeah, and I think that is a piece. It's as you say, it's a word that is there, but very few people actually use it. They say, I don't have control, or I don't know how to focus, or I have all of these ideas, but I don't really know where to start. And I think that is the key, actually. So what I do when I feel that there are a little bit too many, things flying around currently, I write it down. It's a little bit like my list, of experiences or achievements that I want to have. I just write it down. It doesn't have to, it's not like a to-do list. It's just, to get all of these thoughts somewhere, so that you take them from being here in your head and just put them down on a piece of paper. And then you can go through them and sort through them. And it's not as if, I need to do this and this and this, but to really, okay, what do I need to do? And then you take it from there, and then you build from there, So that is what I do, actually, to just put it down on a piece of paper and start taking it from there. And the first thing you need to do is to make a decision. You make a decision and then you take the steps.
Got it. I think should be very useful for anyone who's listening to this. Which brings me to the next question, and I want to know what are the top 3 books that you would recommend anyone out there, like any of the 3 favorite books, and maybe if it's related to coaching, wonderful.
So one really, really important is Think and Grow Rich by Bob Proctor. That everyone needs to read that or understand that. And another one that I read recently was actually Profit First. I can't remember his name. It's a difficult name, but Profit First. I'm currently reading a book called Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffel Thomas, which is also really, you don't have to be a woman to read it. It's all about money mindset. And that is a little bit kind of the thing that I'm currently in the world, that I'm, adding money mindset, adding business strategy, which is kind of like this, the Profit First, and adding Think and Grow Rich, which is more like the whole mindset piece of work, to mix that everything. And I think also to, like, when you read something, don't just read it and then, put it aside, but really try to implement the things that you're reading too.
Makes total sense. I think I would like to add a question here, which is, you talked about money mindset. And I know a lot of my friends who are doing some consulting or advising things. And then they often tell me that whenever I charge some money for the advices that I give, I feel guilty about it. And I don't have a good relationship with the money. So I think, like, how do coaches deal with this thing? Like, because essentially your business is about helping out other people. So yeah, like, give us a glimpse of the money mindset.
Oh, that one is so important. And everyone who starts out, independently of what they do, feel guilty for charging for their services and for what they're doing. And they have such problems in setting the price point for that too. And I had the same. I remember when I started my coaching business and I spoke to someone else and I was like, how do you define it? How do you set it? And it was almost a bit like it was a secret to how much everyone would charge. And so I Googled, which is the worst thing you can do. Don't Google, because it doesn't need to do with you Googling or whatever your neighbor takes for his services, or your friend takes for her services. It has all to do with what is the result that you're giving your clients? What is it, the thing that you're helping them do? And then you set the price point to that. To really have the guts to say, I charge 6.5. And the first time you say that, you will feel as if you want to throw up. But the first person who then says, yeah, let's do it. The next time you say, I charge 6.5. Yeah, let's do it. Third time, 6.5. Yeah, let's do it. Then it's time to raise your price again. So to really start charging by the outcome and not the hour. You charge by the outcome, and then you raise it. You can start by, I don't know, depending on what it is that you're doing, but you can start at a level, and then you can raise it, and then you can raise it, and then you can raise it.
Interesting. Charging by the outcome and not by the hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that brings me to a trademark question of this podcast, which is, what does the term breakthrough mean for you? Since this podcast is named the Career Excellence Podcast Breakthrough with Sudarsh.
A breakthrough to me means when you have clarity. When I decided I don't want to work with the lost corporate professionals. I want to work with the corporate professionals who have taken a decision to set up their business. That was a breakthrough. And I think that is kind of like a breakthrough to me, when you found clarity and when you know the next step. That doesn't mean that you will not feel a little bit lost and a little bit kind of like insecure and maybe even overwhelmed for your next step, because I think you can have several breakthroughs. It's not just one.
Awesome. And then where can our audience find you online, and for what things should they contact you?
For whatever they want. I am a networker. I love to connect with people independently of what it is that they do, what they want to do. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can also find me on Instagram. It's Josefine Wanner, both on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm not that fan of Facebook, but I have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group, and that's called the Online Entrepreneurs Community. And they can definitely join there. They just have to reply to the questions, and then we will let them in. And so that is probably the easiest way to find me.
Awesome. And this brings me to the last question of the podcast. What is your final advice for our viewers?
I would say just start. Just take, just dare to test. Just dare to talk to people and test your ideas. Ask whether is this something that you would need, or you don't really need to ask them what they need. Sorry, that is a bad question actually, but to ask them, what are your problems and where do you want to be? Those are great questions. And then you define the bridge in between from where they currently are to where they want to be. That is your offer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josephine, for taking your time out and for giving us such insightful and detailed answers. I'm very sure the audience is going to love it. And to the audience, if you found the value in this, please do like and comment and let us know what you like the most and what are the things that you would like to ask Josephine in the next podcast so we can have another one with her. So with this is Sudarsh signing off from the Career Excellence Podcast, Breakthrough with Sudarsh. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.